Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Seiden Side Talk. This is episode 2, and I'm Rob Seiden. As you may recall from episode 1, I am an attorney who have a law firm in New York, and we take on causes that are hitting the front pages of newspapers. And we're here to present to you a variety of interesting, intriguing, and exciting topics where the law intersects with the world. Today, we are very lucky that we have here Amiad Kushner, a global litigator well known for his creativity in different parts of the world, bringing lawsuits on behalf of people who have been defrauded in massive Ponzi schemes and other types of fraudulent misrepresentations. So we're going to ask Amiad a few questions today, and if any of you have any questions for Amiad or for us here at Seiden Side Talk, please send it over. We'll be happy to address it if we can. And in case you hear any sirens in the background, as I said, we're in Midtown Manhattan looking at the Freedom Tower, so you may hear some sounds, so please bear with us. Okay, Amiad, please give an introduction to the folks here.
Well, first of all, Rob, it's a pleasure to be on this podcast with you. It's an honor, and it's always great to talk to you. One of the great joys that I have in working with you is the ability just to talk to you about any topic, and I think we have an amazing connection, and it's a big part of our success here. So I've been an attorney in New York City for 20 years, practicing complex commercial litigation. I started out my career at large law firms, and in the past 5 years or so, I've been at smaller firms. The last 4 years with Seiden Law. But I would say that the biggest impact cases that I've worked on have been with Rob. And that's absolutely no accident, as the people who know Rob know.
Well, thank you, Amiad. And I just should add that Amiad came to our firm with a extensive background in bringing difficult cases to success. And as soon as I met the man, I knew that he would be a great fit for our firm. So I'm happy that you're able to convey now today to the audience some of the exciting issues that have come up in our recent cases, especially the Han case. And I'd ask if you can maybe explain a little bit about what the Han case is.
Absolutely. The Han case is one of our very important cases at the moment in the firm. We represent a group of over 90 investors that are in China. They include individuals and institutional investors, and they were the victims of a massive fraud where billions of dollars were stolen from asset management companies that they invested in. And unfortunately, the mastermind of this fraud fled China. And because he fled China, it's impossible to sue him there.
Well, let me ask you, Amiad, how did this mastermind flee China? I mean, how is that possible?
Well, what he did was he somehow figured out that the authorities were onto him, and he left the country before they could catch him. So he flew the coop, and he got lucky.
Okay. I mean, we read all the time how it's very difficult to get out of China. It's very difficult to get money out of China. And this guy somehow not only left China, but he landed where?
He came to New York City. And, of course, one of the first things he did, like a lot of New Yorkers, is he started to check out the real estate here and bought a couple of condominiums.
Wow. So he was using the fruits of his crime to buy real estate. So there are people right now living in apartment buildings in Manhattan off of the stolen money of victims back in China.
That is what we believe. It's outrageous, and we have filed a lawsuit against him in New York City.
I was going to ask, what are you doing about this guy and his wrongdoing?
So we have put together a very hard-hitting lawsuit. We have put into the lawsuit the facts that we've gathered up to this point, that Mr. Han essentially has taken stolen money that was taken from our clients in China, and brought it to New York City and other places around the world. And he has been hiding that money and living brazenly out in the open in New York City with stolen money.
Wow, that's unbelievable that someone would have that kind of nerve. But someone like that is probably not going to be an easy target. So what has been your strategy to go after this man?
Well, he certainly is very well funded, Rob, and that's part of the challenge. He's hired a big law firm, very well established law firm, and what we have tried to do is to think a couple of steps ahead of him. We have come up with an innovative legal strategy to sue him in New York with claims under Chinese law, and we've tailored the claims in such a way that we believe it's going to be hard for him to dismiss the case. And in fact, they tried to dismiss the case, and we just won a tremendous decision from the New York judge, allowing the case to proceed in New York City. So we've won round one of this case, and we're working hard on the upcoming rounds.
Okay, well, I like the boxing analogy here. And let me ask you about this, because you're describing that you're using Chinese law. How in the world is a U.S. judge going to be interpreting and applying Chinese law?
Well, first of all, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, and even lawyers often don't know, is that the New York courts can apply the laws of other countries. But most lawyers are afraid to go there because they're not familiar with foreign law.
And you're not afraid?
I'm not afraid.
Okay.
And one of the great things about our firm, as you know, is that we're very creative. And we have Chinese-speaking attorneys. We actually have attorneys here that are licensed to practice in China. So we go where others don't go, and we put together a pretty unusual complaint. But we think it works. And we think that there is a measure of justice involved in bringing Chinese law claims in New York City on behalf of Chinese clients.
And what do the victims back in China think about this?
They are thrilled, and they couldn't be happier because they were out of hope. They thought that this man, Mr. Han, had essentially escaped with their money, and that there was really nothing they could do. And this lawsuit in New York is their last best hope for getting their money back. And so they are absolutely thrilled that the New York judge is giving them a shot to get their money back and has allowed the case to proceed in New York.
Just a quick detour on that point, Amiad. Can you tell us what about this whole overarching or larger issue of people in other parts of the world coming into the United States, New York, for example, and seeking justice? Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, New York City is an international city, and a lot of transactions have some touch points with New York. And by being very creative as lawyers, we can build a fact pattern and a case that ties New York City to our clients' claims, even if they don't live in New York City, even if the underlying misconduct had more to do with some other country than New York City. There may be creative ways of convincing the New York courts that New York is a place where the action can be brought. But you've got to be creative, and you've got to find the avenues that others don't look for. You've got to push the envelope, and you've got to put in the time that it takes to frame your case in a way that the New York judge is going to feel like it can be kept here.
And you need those boxing gloves.
Absolutely.
So this mastermind has met his match here in the United States with Amiad and the Seiden Law team, sounds like. And we're going to wrap this up, but I want to just bring in one anecdote. The issue you mentioned, Amiad, about the use of the U.S. courts here, in this case, to bring to justice a Chinese mastermind of a massive fraud, is something we're going to be touching on a lot in this podcast in the time ahead. And I recall a gentleman I met in another country told me that Mr. Seiden, when I asked him about why he wants to bring his case in America, he said, Mr. Seiden, in your country, in our country, we can't have both democracy and justice, but in America you can. So I'm bringing my case in America. And you brought the case against Han. We won round one. Let's hope we win the next round too. But that's all for this episode, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you in episode 3. In the meantime, please like and subscribe to Seiden Side Talk and take good care.